Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of October 2014 Love Focus. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This month, where it comes to love, you have just such favorable energy on your side. And that is thanks largely to an eclipse that is taking place. And this eclipse, as I spoke about in the general focused horoscope, is taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with the random interaction. It has to do with being in the right place at the right time and stumbling upon the right person at the right time. But it also has to do with another person facilitating contacts for you. There's also an element to this eclipse that has to do with, as I said, the right conversation, the right person, the right moment, the right time, and the right conversation as well in the right moment at the right time. And given that there is this element, a strong element with this eclipse that has to do with surprises seeming to come out of nowhere that end up being really meaningful to you, that move you in the direction of your dreams, that move you closer to love, and how it is, in some cases, other people facilitating this as well for you. Well, I put this all together, and it does suggest a time when you certainly are making progress on the love front. Those of you who are in an established bond, I do think that this is a time when that bond could certainly deepen, and it is thanks to a conversation that seems to come out of nowhere, that something needs to be said. You start talking about one thing and it leads to something totally different that ends up being a very honest exchange as to what your hopes are, what your fears are, what your dreams are together for each other. And much deeper love is exposed as a result of this as well. And so it does look like ultimately you are moving closer to this person, but there is that element of just getting some news out of nowhere that helps to facilitate this process. Those of you who have somebody in your sphere, maybe you're dating somebody or not, I have to say this, okay? This month, what we also have happening, while we have this eclipse, which ends up being really fortunate, we've also got happening for much of the month, you're going to have Mercury retrograde in the part of the sky for you that has to do with the feelings of love. It has to do with dating. It has to do with the sort of the emotional joy that we feel in the presence of another. And so while this energy can speak to someone that we might be in an established bond with, for example, like a marriage, if this is somebody that we're dating, it is this part of the sky that becomes much more dominant. So if you are somebody in a strong established bond that's been long-term, it really is the opposite sign that becomes a much more dominant energy for you when speaking to that bond. And that certainly is lit up thanks to this very fortunate configuration we have playing out called the Grand Trine in Fire. And as I said in the Jupiter special, with Jupiter hanging out in your opposite sign as well, getting tons of support at this time from the eclipse, from this Grand Trine in Fire. It does look like passions are awakened and there is a sense of bonding that takes place now, a sense of aliveness that takes place now, thanks to your interactions with your partner. However, if you're just dating somebody, right, or you have somebody you have your eye on them, you're just getting to know them. It is the sign, it is another part of your sky that ends up being sort of the dominant energy. And that's where Mercury is retrograde. And so because Mercury is retrograde in there, like I like to say that when Mercury is retrograde in this part of the sky, whatever happens is not likely to stick. So what I mean by that is if you meet somebody new, chances are more information is going to be revealed. And this is also if you're single as well and you're open to meeting somebody. You might meet somebody new right about now, but more information needs to be revealed. It might not be what it looks to be on the surface. So you've got to be open to that possibility and got to be willing to allow it to take its pace so that you can examine it a little bit more deeply. If there is somebody that you might have met in the middle of September, okay? So in particular, we're looking at the last 2 weeks of September. If there's somebody that you might have met, you may actually find them reappear. So if it seems as you start this month that they just kind of disappeared, you met them, you thought it could be something, you thought it might be something, and then they just kind of went somewhere, you don't know where. That's okay. Everything has its own pace. Everything has its own time, and it didn't really have anything to do with you, probably didn't have anything to do with you. But you may experience sort of a reappearance of this person take place for you, especially once we get you just a little further into this month. In the last 3 weeks of this month is when this person may reappear in some way. And so that is sort of a reconnection, if you will, is possible, so that you can learn a little bit more about this person, get to know what's really going on a little bit under the surface as well. When you do connect with somebody new under a Mercury retrograde or even a Mercury shadow, as I spoke about in my All About Mercury Retrograde video, the shadow period, so basically the path that Mercury walks and will rewalk when he's retrograde and then walk again when he's direct, that pathway is called the shadow. And so even when Mercury's in shadow, I'm one of those people who says, like, it isn't about what's happening at the Mercury retrograde. You've got to start 3 weeks before the Mercury retrograde, because the universe is starting to speak to you even before then. So I find it really interesting that what we have happening is what was happening last month was we had Mercury in shadow, and now you're going to have Mercury sort of walk over the same part of the sky. So that may bring a reconnection. If you do meet someone new under a Mercury retrograde, you just got to be patient with it, because chances are the person is actually very different than what you might have thought, and that's okay. That actually can be a really good thing, but you've just got to give it more time than you previously realized. If, as I said before, if you are dating, this is a time when you just see a deeper layer to this person. You're also having these conversations as well and feeling very bonded to them. And I just see a feeling of excitement around this person. And that could be true of anybody that you meet right now if you're single. Because of this grand trine in fire, a lot of us are looking for excitement. We're looking for adventure. We're looking for something to feel enthusiastic about. And for you, it's people. You're looking for friendships and alliances and love and romance to feel excited about. And while you have that going, also know to pace yourself and to allow what needs to be revealed to be revealed. You know, at the same token, I've found with a Mercury retrograde in this part of the sky, if you're dating somebody and you break up, chances are that the breakup happens due to some misunderstanding. And once Mercury goes direct, you get further clarity. You get the further clarity that you need. And normally people, they break up, but they don't stay broken up. If they break up during a Mercury retrograde in this particular part of the sky, you might not actually stay that way, because it is about clarifying things once Mercury does go direct, and Mercury is still in shadow, but is going direct. So there are changes indicated now. There's an awakening indicated now, passions awakening now. And this is going to benefit just about every Aquarian out there in the best possible sense. There's also the promise here of real connection, and the kind of connection that awakens you to the possibilities of your life. Those of you who want to meet somebody new, it can be a cousin, a sibling, or a neighbor that helps facilitate the most important connections that you're going to have. But keep in mind, with that Mercury retrograde, nothing is going to stay the same. And as an adventurous Aquarius, that might be just the way you like it on your pathway to a greater love than you've known before.